Welcome, everybody, back to another episode of the Translation Plan, your go to podcast for transgender history. As always, I'm your host, Mark. And it is an absolute pleasure to be back here with you all today. Now, y'all, I know I've been gone, and I want to sincerely apologize for my absence. I should have before I left because I didn't know I was going to be out for a while. Shared a message to let y'all know I was going to be out for a little bit. No, it was not a vacation. It was all business for the last couple of weeks. I had to do a lot of appearances, some chats with close friends of mine, short conferences and all that good stuff. So it's been a lot over the last couple of weeks, and with all the business, I didn't have enough time and pleasure to record episodes. Nor did I have my podcast gear with me as well to record episodes. So I don't like to give you all crappy audio and stuff like that. Like I said, I could have did like a quick message on my phone to tell y'all that I was going to be out. That was a bad job out of me. So to kind of get back into the rhythm of things, I am happy that I will be a little bit more consistent for the next couple of weeks. So we should be able to close out season 6 before I actually go on the actual vacation. It'll be overseas, so obviously I won't have my podcast gear with me either as well. So we should be able to finish out season 6 before I leave for that vacation. And you all will be able to hear that before I come back, and then we start season 7. So, as I like to say, for every podcast episode that I like to do, I like to welcome all of my members. Wait a minute. I don't think I introduced myself. I am Mari. I'm the host of the Translation Plan podcast. It is nice to meet you all, and if you have met me before, hello. But to get into, I want to thank all my members. If you are brand new here, welcome to the Translation Plan podcast, your go-to podcast for transgender history. This podcast is not just about history; it's a platform to serve for education. Of course, I want to share with you all, like I said, stories that are normally overlooked or forgotten or not spoken about much as it relates to transgender individuals across the world, not just in the U.S. And this podcast is aimed to inspire understanding, promote inclusivity, of course. Like I said, just continue to have conversations about, transgender experiences, like I said, that we often are unaware of. So each podcast is intentionally designed to be about 15 to 20 minutes. So it's very short, sweet, concise. And with that, I want to just give you all with something to start with, and then you can learn more along the way on your own time. So welcome. And I probably said that very fast, and I apologize. To all my returnees, thank you so much for continuing to support the podcast as well. I love you all so much because as I was actually out for the last couple of weeks, I will look at the analytics every single day or every week at least, and we have grown substantially. And I know that I started this podcast back at the year of the COVID times and kind of went off a little bit for personal things and work. Now being able to kind of just stare down just a little bit more, consistency, it means a lot, and I can see it. And I'm happy to have this podcast. I'm happy to be doing this podcast, and I cannot wait to continue on the longevity of this podcast as well. So thank you all so much. Now we can get to today's content. So today we'll be talking about an organization that has played a critical and crucial role, really, in the transgender community, and it goes by the name of FTM International Incorporated. Now, if you are someone who identifies as FTM like myself, you may be familiar with this organization. If not, no worries. That's what this podcast is for. So, this organization has been actually at the forefront of advocacy and support for transgender men for decades. I remember looking it up a couple of years ago, and I remember it, like I said, kind of starting off as something very small and communal. And then, like I said, as we talk about the word international, as you could have guessed, it expanded its services and its initiative and goals. So I want to talk about that today. So that's what's going to be our starting point, and I want to talk about really the founding of the organization. So FTM International Incorporated was founded in 1986 by Lou Sullivan, who was actually a pioneer transgender activist. And if you've never heard of Lou Sullivan, I will actually do a separate podcast episode on Lou later on. But Lou was not only really a trailblazer for transgender rights, but also one of the first public figures to openly identify as a gay trans man. And that's why I want to do my own podcast episode on Lou. His vision was to create a support network for transgender men, and especially those also navigating their sexual orientation, which, as I like to do in my presentations, and I know a lot of you all may know this already, of course, but gender and sexuality are not the same. You can be a gay trans man, and that's okay. I want people to know that that's okay. You can be a pansexual trans man, all that. And I like to tell people that because I think people have concerns about transitioning and then not accepting their sexual orientation. I would tell you this: hormones can change you. It really can. So I always like to let people know if they meet me or if they ask me questions about different things as it relates to a trans man, that sexual orientation is fluid. It's on a scale. You can be whatever you want to be, and that's okay. I'm going on a rant. That's not what this episode's about. Sorry. At a time when resources and support were scarce, FTM International emerged as a lifeline for many individuals. So Lou Sullivan's personal journey and activism were actually deeply entwined. And because of that, Lou spent really most of his early life really struggling to understand and express his gender identity, like most of us have, right? And his transition in the 1970s was actually very groundbreaking. And as the medical community really at the time often denied trans men access to hormones and surgery, especially those who were gay, Sullivan's experience and perseverance in the face of these obstacles actually laid the foundation for the birth of FTM International Incorporated. Now, in its early years, FTM International Incorporated focused on providing essential resources and support to transgender men. This included what we normally see today if you do join like organizations. That's like newsletters, support groups, and information on like medical and social transition. Well, that part is different, but just the basis of newsletters and support groups. And the organization quickly grew its membership and influence, which became a vital part of the broader transgender rights movement that you all may or may not have heard of today. And the newsletters, which were, obviously, I think come to mind as FTM newsletter, really became a way to share other stories of transgender men. Also advice that's kind of given or people that experience from personal reasons. From people experience from personal experiences, and news that's relevant to the transgender community. And these publications were lifelines for many, offering really a sense of connection and validation. And members would write in their experiences and really create a tapestry of shared wisdom and solidarity. Now, these support groups that were also organized were, equally vital, right? Many transgender men, these groups are really the first places that they could go to openly discuss their experiences and also find a little bit more understanding about what it's like to be in a community if they are new in the community. And most of the times I think about support groups, we think from an emotional stance, of course. But really being able to have a space where, like I said, you can openly ask questions creates a kind of like a platter of advice, kind of how you can navigate your life, whether that's like medical transitions, legal name changes, or even discuss any workplace issues that you may or may not have had, which is another thing. Now, one of the key contributions of FTM International Incorporated has been its role in advocacy and education, which everything I kind of just talked about now makes sense, right? On kind of how the two connect. The organization really worked tirelessly to raise awareness about the unique challenges faced by transgender men. And really throughout, workshops, conferences, publications, FTM International Incorporated educated not only those within the community, but within the organization, my apologies, and the community actually, but also the general public and medical professionals about transgender issues. Now, this advocacy has really been instrumental, really, in changing perceptions and improving the quality of care for transgender individuals. And because of that, FTM International would host numerous conferences over the years. We're talking about experts kind of coming in, activists, community members, to discuss different pressing issues that the transgender community does face. And these conferences, like I said, covered a wide range of topics. We're talking about like healthcare, legal rights, mental health, community building, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And because of that, this actually helps shape the broader dialogue around transgender issues. Now, one big thing about FTM International is the community building, right? It actually has always really been a organization about building strong and supportive community. When we think about the pre-internet era, when kind of this organization was kind of birthed, the organization really provided a crucial network, like I said, for transgender men to connect with one another. These connections have fostered a sense of belonging, solidarity, and helping many individuals navigate their journeys with greater confidence and also some support as well. Now, FTM International actually took different types of forms to do this community building. Like I said, in addition to like the support groups and conferences, the organization will also organize like social events, retreats, and even online forums, which allowed these spaces for transgender men to form lasting friendships and support groups, which have been invaluable in times of need. We see it now today, especially with more of the internet. We have a lot of Facebook groups, right? And Discords, I'm sure that they have out there for transgender individuals, which was funny because a coworker of mine actually reached out to me and was telling me about a transgender Discord because I did a speech, not really a speech, but a presentation at work. So I think that's pretty cool. So with FTM International working to create these connections within each other, generations of transgender men, documenting and sharing these stories of those who are what we like to consider our elders of transgender men. We want to make sure that they want to make sure that they wanted to ensure that their experiences and wisdom were passed down to younger generations, like myself, because I'm only 26, so I still got a lot of life to go. So with this intergenerational dialogue, it has enriched the community and provided valuable insights into history and the evolution of transgender activism. One last thing that I kind of want to talk about as it relates to what FTM International Incorporated's impact has created was really the contribution of research, which is what I'm very involved in, which is something that an area that I really love to do, in the development of resources specifically for transgender men. Now, the organization has been involved, like I said, in various research projects that have expanded our understanding of transgender health and well-being. But additionally, FTM International Incorporated has produced numerous guides and resources that have been invaluable to transgender individuals and their families. Those within the organization collaborated with researchers, academic institutions to conduct these studies on a wide range of topics in order for us to get valuable data that can be informed as best practices in transgender healthcare and the quality of life for these individuals, which, by the way, is something I'm trying to do. So, the organization has developed a comprehensive library that provide resources, like I said, as it relates to medical transition, legal rights, et cetera, both in print and online. So FTM International used to have prints too as well. And I don't have a copy, but I've seen it before, like actual prints regarding it. Maybe check on eBay because I get my Treasure Tapestry magazines from eBay. So if you want to check that out, see if you can find it on there, I can look to maybe give some away to those who might want to check that out. But also produce training materials too as well for healthcare providers, helping them to ensure that transgender men receive competent and compassionate care. So as we look back at the history of FTM International, it's clear that the organization really has had a lasting impact on transgender history. And Lou Sullivan's legacy lives on through the ongoing work of FTM International Incorporated, which continues to support and advocate for transgender men worldwide. And the organization's efforts have paved the way for greater acceptance, understanding, and support for transgender individuals. My apologies. Now, this publication, or I won't say this publication, but this organization really has been very transformative. And I can say, like I said, not really knowing much about the trans community and especially any resources related to transgender men growing up at first, I do now. But at first, I do remember, like I said, looking back and seeing FTM International and checking out like all of their stuff, because I just really wanted to be great like that. But just kind of passing along that kind of the impact that it has and continuing to make that impact happen, even if it's not associated with the name or the organization. But seeing the progress that we've all made, whether we're activists, advocate, etc., from this legacy that it has had. FTM International's legacy, as you can see, like I said, has been made in transgender rights and healthcare over the last couple of decades. And this advocacy, like I said, has contributed to significant policy changes as it relates to like insurance coverage and also the recognition of legal documentations. So the impact of FTM International can be seen in the growing visibility and acceptance of transgender men in society. The organization's work has helped to break down stereotypes and challenge misconceptions, like I said, to create what we like to see now, slightly inclusive and understanding world for transgender individuals. So FTM International over the last decades, this contributes to advocacy, education, community building, and research. It definitely has left a mark on transgender history, undoubtedly. And we want to continue to strive for greater equality and inclusion. We definitely need to take a look at FTM International as a source of inspiration and a testament to the power of community and advocacy. So with that, I thank you all so much for listening to today's episode. It was a pleasure, like I said, to be back today. If you have not already, you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at the Trans Lesson Plan. If you want to follow me, the host, Mari, you can follow me at mariiiwrld. That's MAR3ISWRLD. I dropped 2 episodes regarding a Discord and also a Patreon. You do not have to join, those are optional if you want to kind of fill it out for a little bit more with these episodes and then join later. Totally fine. Let's just give you all some other options to stay in communication with me if you are ever interested. Last thing, like I said, I will finish out season 6 before I go on vacation. I promise. But I will be out once I do go on vacation in the middle of September for a couple of weeks. So I'll be recovering, getting everything back together. And as always, we'll start season 7 and continue this amazing journey of transgender history. So with that, I thank you all so much for listening to today's episode. I hope you all have a great rest of your weekend and week coming up. Don't forget to subscribe, follow, tell a friend, etc., etc. And I'll see you all next Sunday. Peace.